An attribute is a piece of data that describes to what extent a fictional character in a role-playing game possesses a specific natural, inborn characteristic common to all characters in the game. The piece of data is usually an abstract number or, in some cases, a set of dice. Some games use different terms to refer to an attribute, such as statistic, characteristic, or ability. A number of role-playing games like Fate do not use attributes at all. The nature of attributes. There is no uniform consensus on what ability scores are, even if many role-playing games have them, but games that use them have a common theme. According to the BBC Cult TV website, all characters have attributes, basic physical and mental abilities, and in the Pathfinder role-playing game, each character has 6 ability scores that represent his character's most basic attributes. They are his raw talent and prowess. While a character rarely rolls a check using just an ability score, these scores, and the modifiers they create, affect nearly every aspect of a character's skills and abilities. Quote, in some games, such as older versions of Dungeons & Dragons, the attribute is used on its own to determine outcomes, whereas in many games, beginning with bunnies and burrows and including more modern versions of D&D, the attribute works with a skill to affect the overall outcome. Common types of attribute system. There is no standard amongst role-playing games as to which attributes are important for the game, though there is a school of design which says you pick the attributes after you decide what the game is about. Set attribute systems. Dungeons & Dragons used 6 attributes. The 6 attributes used in D&D are strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and these range from about 3 to 18. The attribute sequence in D&D was originally strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, and charisma, sometimes referred to as SIWDCC. This listed the 4 prime requisites of the character class families before the general stats: strength for fighters, intelligence for magic users, wisdom for clerics, and dexterity for thieves. The current SCDIWC sequence was introduced in the 3rd edition in an attempt to divide physical and cognitive traits into 2 groups. Many other notable games have followed suit while slightly varying the attributes, like Traveler-like Cortex system games such as the Serenity RPG and the Cortex Plus Leverage with agility, alertness, intelligence, strength, vitality, and willpower. Others use more, some fewer. Tri-Stat-DX, as the name would suggest, uses 3, whereas a more common division of 3, and used in the Cortex Plus game Firefly, is physical, mental, and social, one of the 2 axes for the storyteller system's attributes. Classifications. The first 3 editions of Shadowrun had 3 separate headings of physical attributes, mental attributes, and special attributes, with 3 stats in each, with the 6 non-special attributes being strength, quickness, body, charisma, intelligence, and willpower, and 2 of the 3 special attributes relating to magic and the 3rd being derived. This is arguably a 6-attribute system. The storyteller system used in games like Vampire: The Masquerade took this one step further, breaking the attributes down into 3x3 classifications: power, finesse, and resistance, a mental, physical, and social, leading to 9 different combinations, each of which has a separate name, with, for example, mental finesse being the attribute wits and social resistance being composure. Stats and substats. Some games think that attributes are not and should not be treated as entirely independent, and therefore make a lot of their attributes dependent on others. GURPS uses 2 levels of statistic: 4 primary statistics and 4 statistics derived directly from those: willpower and speed. Hero System 5th edition has 8 primary statistics and a further 5 derived from them, fitting the setting. Some game systems such as those using the Cortex Plus system or those powered by the Apocalypse work on the basis that the attributes should emphasize elements of the setting, thus making them different from game to game even within the same family. So, for example, Dungeon World is meant to resemble a game of D&D, so it uses the same statistics as above, whereas Monster Hearts, with its mix of teen drama and paranormal romance, uses the statistics hot, cold, violent, and dark. Common attribute names. Attributes are commonly referred to by a three-letter abbreviation. Strength, aka body, might, brawn, a measure of how physically strong a character is. Strength often controls the maximum weight the character can carry, melee attack and/or damage, and sometimes hit points. Armor and weapons might also have a strength requirement. Constitution, aka stamina, endurance, vitality, a measure of how sturdy a character is. Constitution often influences hit points. Resistance is for special types of damage, and fatigue. Defense, aka resistance, fortitude, resilience, a measure of how resilient a character is. Defense usually decreases taken damage by either a percentage or a fixed amount per hit, occasionally combined with Constitution. Dexterity, aka agility, reflexes, quickness, a measure of how agile a character is. Dexterity controls attack and movement speed and accuracy, as well as evading an opponent's attack. Intelligence, aka intellect, mind, knowledge, a measure of a character's problem-solving ability. Intelligence often controls a character's ability to comprehend foreign languages and the skill in magic. In some cases, intelligence controls how many skill points the character gets at level up. In some games, it controls the rate at which experience points are earned, or the amount needed to level up. Under certain circumstances, this skill can also negate combat actions between players and NPC enemies. This is sometimes combined with wisdom and/or willpower. Charisma, aka presence, charm, social, a measure of a character's social skills, and sometimes the physical appearance. Charisma generally influences prices while trading and NPC reactions. Under certain circumstances, this skill can negate combat actions between players and NPC enemies. Wisdom, aka spirit, wits, psyche, sense, a measure of a character's common sense and/or spirituality. Wisdom often controls a character's ability to cast certain spells, communicate mystical entities, or discern other characters' motives or feelings. Willpower, aka sanity, personality, ego, resolve, a measure of the character's mental resistance when falling victim to mind-altering magic, torture, or insanity. Many games combine willpower and wisdom. Perception, aka alertness, awareness, cautiousness, a measure of a character's openness to the surroundings. Perception controls the chance to detect vital clues, traps or hiding enemies, and might influence combat sequence or the accuracy of ranged attacks. Perception-type attributes are more common in more modern games. Note that this skill is usually understood only to apply to what a character can perceive with their established senses, and does not usually include extrasensory perception or other forms of mental telepathy or telekinesis in the given game unless the character's specific attributes expressly include such abilities. Sometimes combined with wisdom. Luck, aka fate, chance, a measure of a character's luck. Luck might influence anything, but mostly random items, encounters and outstanding successes, failures.